The Pearl of the Soul of the World by Meredith Ann Pierce. 11. Heart of Dust. The chill that poured through Ariel as she listened to that voice vanquished the warmth of Soulstar. Turning, she saw the White Witch standing not far from the casement, her vantage from which to watch the coming battle, Ariel guessed. Across the small chamber, Orencor appraised her coolly. She was very tall, almost as tall as Ravenna, but whereas the ancient had been a dark lady, all dusk and black and indigo, her daughter, the White Witch, was fair. Her skin was as pale as Irelath's had been when Ariel had known him as a dark angel, bone white without any rose to the cheeks or lips, no blush of blood. Her frigid breath did not cloud the air. Her features were sharp and angular, coldly beautiful, like a merciless statue. Only her eyes had any color, pale green, a sorceress's eyes. The witch's hair was long and white, straighter than Ravenna's, colorless filament, dark angel hair. Her lips were thin, bowed, curling upward at the corners in malevolent amusement. She was wearing a long white gown that fell close about her figure, clinging to it. It was sewn with little bits of things, dog's teeth, cut diamonds, the freshwater pearls twisted in baroque in shape, not round, cat's claws and buttons of bone. Ariel could not see the Lorelei's feet. Her gown dragged the floor. Her white nails were very long and keen. Before her, Ariel felt stupid, clumsy, weak, as though the other could, with but a glance, read her heart. Shivering, she answered, "I am not a sorceress." The White Witch smiled. Her teeth were pointed, sharp as little spades. "Perhaps not," she said, drawing nearer. The cold breathed from her as from a high mountainside in shadow. "But you have been a great difficult to me, and you have lately visited my mother in New Ravenna. Tell me, is she well?" "She's dead," said Ariel, shaking, refusing to retreat. She remembered vividly the last breath of the ancient lady fading and the dark man bending his grief-stricken face to her hair. Ravenna's fair daughter laughed, wholly self-possessed, a bell-like mocking sound. "Ha ha ha! You are so earnest," she sighed. "I should not play with you. I know that she is dead. I saw the beacon of her funeral fire." Ariel stared at her. The coldness with which the other spoke astonished her. One swan's down eyebrow lifted. "Do I shock you, little Ariel, rejoicing in my own mother's death?" Ariel saw that one of the trinkets stitched to her gown was the mummified foot of some small white creature, a lizard, a mole. Orencor clutched one dagger-nailed hand. Her fingers were webbed. Ariel realized suddenly, gills slitted behind her ears. "Fool! She could have made herself immortal like me if she had dared. Now her own mortality has claimed her at last, and the world is mine." She spoke with such unflinching authority that Ariel's hand went to the jewel at her brow, seeking reassurance, then froze there, as the Lorelei fastened her glass-green gaze upon the pearl. "My mother gave you a gift, I see." Terror swept through Ariel as she realized that very soon she must give up the pearl. She had worn Ravenna's jewel so long she had almost forgotten existence without it, and yet she told herself sternly the pearl did not belong to her. It was meant for the world's heir. Still, the thought of parting with it was agony. "A boon," she managed at last. "A message capsule, by the look," the witch remarked, as though not greatly interested. "After all these years, what could my mother possibly have to say to me?" Ariel shook her head. How to explain? Where to begin? She found her tongue growing thick and awkward in her mouth. Touching the pearl still, she could only manage, "Ravenna bade me bring it to you." Orencor shrugged. "How charming! But you keep it a while, little sorceress, lest the cold kill you too soon. Time enough for me to savor my mother's dying breath after the battle." She smiled her wolfish smile. "After I've slaughtered all your people and devoured their souls." Ariel's knees grew weak. The other's voice was at once lovely and terrible, seductive to listen to. Ariel felt the moment, her chance to confront and persuade the witch slipping away. She drew breath to make some desperate last appeal, but a soft inner voice intervened. "Let it go," the voice murmured, already fading. "Now is not the time, not yet, but soon." "Come," the Lorelei said. "Watch the battle with me. It is about to be joined." She beckoned Ariel to a window. The sill there dripped with water in the sunlight blaze. "See them below us," Oriancourt murmured. "Your forces and mine, all assembled, all arrayed. The victory will be mine, of course. It will be a pleasure to watch. I know so few pleasures these days. Watch with me." Ariel saw armies on the strand below. The small chamber in which she and Oriancourt stood was indeed at a great height. The witch's brood was massed upon the shore. Jackals and weasel hounds and black birds, great hunched creatures of vaguely human shape and thin, wrath-like fingers. Rank upon rank of them, so many she could not count. The black waters of the mere behind them teemed with more. Ariel spotted the mud lick bobbing near the shore, and deeper out, circling the palace, the two enormous wakes of the witch's water dragons. Silva's forces faced the mere, fanned out in a crescent. Ariel's heart lifted at the sight of them, only to tighten suddenly as for the first time she perceived how pitifully small their numbers were in comparison to the witch's vast horde. Above the allied war host, a long yellow banner turned and fluttered on the breeze. The lady stood foremost, surrounded by her bowwomen. Irelath rode nearby, astride the winged Averclon. Merlon, the lithe serpent of the dust of sea, undulated huge and vermilion, her vast coils lost among the throng. Aaron stood farther back, the lion Penderlon pacing beside her. Ariel saw the dark girl touch his mane. Beside her, at the windowsill, Oriancourt stirred. "You have all been such a trial to me these last few dozen day months," she sighed. "Resisting my conquest, refusing to acquiesce. I suppose I must be grateful, though, you assuaged my boredom." Ariel turned to see her, gazing down hungrily at the Prince of Avaric very far below. The White Witch smiled. "Irelath was my best. He was never boring. All of 6 years old when I procured him. Too old, really, to ever come completely to heel. That is why I loved him so independent, so surprising. It took me years to tame him." A hot flame of anger rose in Ariel. For a moment it rivaled the warmth of the pearl. She remembered the brief glimpse the pearl had shown her. Oriancourt, one fist in young Irelath's hair, commanding him, ever so quietly, "Yes, love, you will." Recklessly Ariel drew breath again to speak, but the other's merciless eyes turned and fixed her like a hawk's. "I will never forgive you for taking him from me," the White Witch breathed, "even for a little time, and I will have him back again before I drink his soul away. He will be mine." Ariel's skin flushed. "He will never belong to you again," she gasped. "He's mine. He loathes you." Oriancourt laughed. "Ha, ha, ha, ha. He loves me, and I him." "You don't," spat Ariel. "You only want to rule him." Memory of the Lorelei's black birds tormenting her prisoners came back to Ariel. She shuddered, sickened, and shoved the thought away. "You and your kind don't love anything. I don't think you can." The witch's smile soured. Her voice grew petulant, annoyed. "I loved the ancients once," she murmured. "When I was young, I was capable of love then, but they left me." Leaning back against the sill, studying Ariel, Oriancourt toyed with the low collar of her gown, stroking her own breastbone. Slowly, Ariel realized what it was she fingered, a little seam running down, sewn up with silver, just like the one on Irelath's breast when he had been a dark angel. Oriancourt's bloodless lips pursed fretfully. "It's true," she mused. "I can't love. I don't have a heart of flesh any more. I took it out after the ancients deserted me and replaced it with one of winter rock." She glanced over one shoulder. Ariel followed her gaze. A crystal box rested in a niche across the room. "I put the original away for safekeeping." Warily, Ariel eyed the box. Something dark lay inside, dimly visible through the colorless stone. Oriancourt shrugged. "You may look at it if you wish." The pearl burned bright upon her brow. Ariel felt an irresistible attraction drawing her to the box. Slowly she crossed the room and touched the lid. The crystal was bone-chill, cold as the keep. "Don't think you can harm it," the Lorelei warned, still at the window-sill. "I'd never let you near it if you could do it any harm." Ariel felt a stirring within the pearl, like something just beginning to wake, but it subsided at once. She lifted the box lid and halted, frowning. Nothing lay within the box but a layer of fine, dark grit. Immediately the pearl brightened. "There's nothing in here," she said. "Nothing but dust." Scowling, Ravenna's daughter bit her lip with one pointed tooth. "Won't you lie to flatter me, little sorceress?" she inquired. "Aren't you afraid of me yet?" Ariel turned to face her. "I'm very much afraid of you," she answered. No use to pretend otherwise. The ancient's daughter could read her with such ease. Still biting her lip, the White Witch smiled. "So is Irelath," and he said the same. Despite the other's eyes upon her, Ariel felt her own gaze very gently being directed once more to the fine sooty stuff at the bottom of the box, like ashes of the dead. Within the pearl something shifted again. She reached to touch the ash. It was cool and clung together like barely damp metal, or like barely damp meal. Ravenna's pearl glowed. A strange, soft murmuring came into the back of Ariel's mind. She tried to listen, but Oriancor's muttered words drowned it out. "All the others told me what a fine heart it was, how beautifully preserved. They thought to please me. Irelath told me it was only wormwood. That's why he was my favorite. Of all the boys I ever made into dark angels, only Irelath never lied." The witch's knife-like nails drummed the crystal of the windowsill, chipping and scoring it. They sounded like death beetles clicking in the walls. "Taste it," the pearl was telling her, "that I may know my daughter's heart." Almost without a thought, Ariel touched a few grains of the witch's dust to her tongue, and a sharp sensation went through her like a pinprick. It was the bitterest thing she had ever known. It tasted like despair. The pearl dimmed then, and its voice subsided. Ariel forgot about it instantly, as a sleeper waking forgets a dream. Across the room from her, Oriancor sighed. "My heart fell away into dust long ago. I hadn't realized it would do that when I cut it out. The crystal was supposed to preserve it. Well, I was very young at sorcery then, but no matter. A heart would be too great a burden to bear with me across the void." Ariel frowned, having lost the other's train of thought. Across the void, but Oriancor only laughed and turned back to the window. "Ah," she said softly, "so it starts." Ariel caught her breath. Hastily, she replaced the witch's box in its niche and went to join Oriancor at the casement. "Your lady's army comes forward," the Lorelei murmured. Gazing down, Ariel saw the great crescent advancing now, comprising allies of every hue. Blueburnians, pale green Zambulians, Persians with coppery skin, pale Turanians and gold-complected refugees from Avaric, the rose-skinned peoples of Rani, and the teal-colored folk of Elver. Dark mariners, Easterners with plum-colored skin, and the cinnamon-colored wanderers of the desert lands. All at once, Ariel understood what their yellow banner was. Above them all, her wedding sari floated, blazing in the light of Solstar. Beside her at the window, Oriancor lifted her gaze. Winged figures, half a dozen of them poised in the air about the keep. Smiling, she commanded them, "Begin." And that is the end of chapter 11.